Welcome to From the Classroom. I'm Nate Quinnell, Superintendent of Schools here in East Hartford, and I really appreciate the fact that you tuned in to watch the show. From the Classroom is a show that we shoot every month where we try to bring you some of the great things going on in East Hartford Public Schools, and we've got a lot to talk about. And I'm thrilled today to welcome Roberta Pratt onto the show. Roberta Pratt is our new CIO, or Chief Information Officer, that works at both the board and the town. And Roberta's been an awesome addition to our team, and just really glad to have you. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
CIO, that's a big title there. And
big title.
I laughed early on when we started. I think a news outlet had called and was looking for information on something and called you looking for the information because you're
That's right.
So we got a kick out of that.
Yep.
So for our viewers, can you tell them a little bit about, well, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and then we'll move to, why here in East Hartford and what your role here is, what's going on.
Sure. Thank you. So I started in technology many years ago. I'm not going to count how many. It was a career change, something I wanted to do, and I just took to it. So I know you're going to touch on this later, but I started in New Britain, which is very similar to East Hartford, and then moved my way up in smaller districts to administration and really enjoyed the planning, the project planning, strategic planning, working with the administrators, seeing what we could do to help lives, kids' lives, families' lives in districts. Yeah. And it's been a wonderful trip.
Yeah. It must be interesting as someone who's working with technology close, seeing the evolution of that industry. You're right, from...
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
Mainframes, big, huge computers. When I went to school, we didn't have computers in the classroom. Yeah. And now everyone wants them. Everyone needs them, devices. Right. It's been amazing. The amount of news that's available to everybody, the information, it's not, you don't look at an encyclopedia anymore. You go to Google. Everyone does it. Do it on your phone. You're standing in a shopping line. We don't talk anymore, which is probably a bad thing. Yeah. But this is how dependent we are. When there's no email, life stops.
Yeah. Well, and as somebody who probably over-relies on technology, having someone like you in East Hartford who can help us stabilize our infrastructure and adjust to what's going on in our world has been so important. So, your position for our viewers came to light. Really, we were experiencing some challenges on the board side. I kind of like to tell the story is that we had been ransomed for Bitcoin by an agency in the Eastern Bloc country, and really identified the fact that we needed some change. And this came along with our mayor really having kind of a vision for what we could do together. Can you talk about that? It's very unique in Connecticut to have what your position is. Can you talk about that?
Sure, it's very unique. I think what's really unique is the position of the school board and the town and the way that you both approach this position. So it's not one that belongs to just one and kind of takes over the other. It's a shared vision. And pretty much you both have given me the reins to just bring everything where it needs to be and then look to the future. What can we do? It's been amazing to work with both teams. There's some really good people on both sides, which is a lot of fun to work with. I think direction was probably missing and maybe a little bit of vision, but it's been amazing to work with the staff and the faculty and the town. Both you and the mayor are forward-thinking, and both look to me to bring us into that future securely and yet give access to everyone and what they need. Town, students, parents, everyone.
Yeah. So it's what I think has been so interesting, and I've learned a lot getting a chance to talk to you about these kind of things. I think when people think about technology, they think what's in front of them.
Right.
And, we'll get into what's on the board side with technology and what's on the town side. But can you give us kind of a scope of, because when I feel like you talk about technology, you rarely talk about the device that's in front of them. That almost seems to be kind of an afterthought.
Right.
For you, the priorities are all these things that we don't even know exist. Can you talk about that infrastructure? What is infrastructure with technology?
So it's the boring piece to most people because it's not fun. You don't sit with something in front of you. But if you don't have that infrastructure in back, if you don't have the network that can run the devices, if you don't have the servers that they can contact constantly, if you don't have the security, then you're in trouble. You can't get anywhere. You can't do anything. So shiny devices are great, but when they can't get to the internet, everyone gets frustrated. And that doesn't matter if it's town, government, board. It's the same for everybody. So making sure that we have that back end, we have all the switches and the networking equipment, all the border equipment, that's the edge equipment that allows the traffic back and forth, stops those Eastern Bloc countries from coming in, things like that. So it's important to have all that in place, and that's a really hard sell because, again, no one sees it. No one wants to know what a closet looks like or what our network engineer is working on every single day. They want to know about those devices. So we have to make sure that we balance what we have with what we need.
Yeah. So can you describe for viewers what a technology department looks like on the board side? Like, what are you overseeing as far as a department? What is underneath your jurisdiction?
So we're fortunate enough to have a really great team. We have a new information technology manager, and so he does like the day-to-day operations. He works closely with the techs. I like to call the other team the developers, but they're application support specialists, and with the network admin. And he kind of makes sure that they're on task with what we've decided the vision should be, and they're also a part of that conversation. And we have the same setup at the town, so it's kind of easy to talk about both at the same. We have an application support team, works with all the data, no matter if it's passwords or what applications it is. A lot of student information, a lot of state reporting. But they try to come up with things that will help the administration and teachers when they're trying to look at student data and decide where we need to go for the students. Then we have the building techs. We don't have enough of them, but they do a fantastic job. And they're the day-to-day on the lines, taking care of everything. And until we are able to do our refresh cycle and the things that we hope to put into practice, they have to fix a lot of the old equipment, and they do such a great job with it. Then we have our network engineer and his assistant, and they take care of all the servers, all the network equipment, all the edge equipment, which is routers, what we call edge equipment. They also take care of phones, printers, copiers. They're amazing with what they do. And again, the same setup on the town. A few less people, a few less departments that they have to worry about. But it basically is the same kind of system.
Yeah, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about when you walk in a room, technology is always in every room, whether it's the smart board that's in front of the class, the teacher's computer, which obviously is inputting all their grades and attendance, and all these things working all the time. I remember as a teacher here in East Hartford, I was one of the first classrooms to get a smart board, and after a few years of using it, all my files went away because everything was saved on the network. And if the network shut down, breaking out that old piece of chalk was pretty difficult.
It is. A lot of teachers find it that way. I've been told I can't teach because I don't have my smart board. Like, we have to go back a little bit for a day or so, and that wasn't in this district. But it is amazing how much technology is taken over. But if you think about how enthused the students are to use technology, I really believe it's a way to reach some of our younger students who may not have the same opportunities that everyone else has. And if we give them that technology and get them excited, we're looking to bring in vendors. We're looking to build partnerships and collaborate with our vendors and hopefully do some programs that will really help some of the students and families in the town of East Hartford and share that with the town. So collaborative efforts. Yeah.
So you might have just kind of shared it there, but so what is your big? You've come in, you've got your feet on the ground, you've met the players, you've started to look at the backside of our infrastructure. What's your big vision for technology here in East Hartford Public Schools?
So I think being able to have reliable devices in each classroom and reliable devices on the back end, which we are definitely working towards. It's a priority. But after that, I see us being able to target some of the areas that we really need to help students with. And if we can use technology as a bribe, and I hate to say that word, but as a way to get them excited, even a way to communicate for some of them. You go to a restaurant, how often do you have a family, they're all looking at the phones? How often do you have a parent gives a child their phone and just to keep them quiet, gives them the phone so they have to go shopping, grocery shopping. They're in the cart playing with the phone. Yeah. It is a way of life. So can we tap into that and help some students? So I've been looking at Verizon has a program where they'll actually do coding for elementary girls. I thought that was pretty cool, but we could expand it for all elementary. I think a lot of the programs go for the high school. By then, you're patching what's already broken. What if we can capture the ones in the elementary? And I've always believed that's been my philosophy. Yeah. So if we can get some help from Microsoft and some of the other vendors that we use, that's kind of the area that I'd like to go in.
Yeah, no, I have I have little children at home. I have kindergartners at home, and I watch them interact with technology in a way that, they're playing with devices certainly that I never thought existed. I never went an iPad to existence where you can touch and manipulate things from the screen, and they're doing this like this has been around forever. And I wonder, for me, I kind of wonder, like, what's the next 20 years going to be? What's the next 30 years going to be? What are we going to be talking about when we think about what's happened with cell phones in 20 years? I mean,
it's going to be crazy. I read an article and saw it. They actually have done a human heart with a 3D printer.
Oh my God!
And I'm like, it's not working.
Yeah.
But the thought that they would even come up with that. So this is where we get the students really excited. 3D printers, work with a company, do a STEM program. We have the ability. We just have to, again, do the back end first and then move forward with the devices and stuff for the kids. But it's unlimited what we could do.
It's unlimited.
It's scary sometimes.
Yeah.
It really is. And I love it, but I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. I want to get to talk a little bit about healthy technology in homes. Many of our viewers are parents at home with children, and I'm sure there's challenges I am of trying to manage screen time. Maybe you can help with some tips for that. But before that, one of the things I really appreciate working with you, Roberta, is that sometimes when I talk to technology people, I understand very little of what they're talking about. It's almost like a code here. You, on the other hand, are very approachable, down to earth, and very. You speak the same language I think that I speak. How is that, and why has that been a priority, or how can we make that a priority across all of our systems?
So I started in sales, which kind of helps.
Okay.
I wasn't a tech person to start with. I wasn't in my room playing with a computer. It's a second career. In school now, and I went back to school later to get my degree in this. In school now, they really push the ability to be able to speak with admin teams at boards, to councils. So that's been very helpful in some of the classes. There's a Kettle program, certified educational technology leaders that I went through. Again, really telling you, explaining how to work with a team, finances, budgets, what do you need to do, how do you need to talk. So if I could, I would happily talk to you like in geek speak, but it wouldn't go well for anyone. So you have to learn, or else this isn't the position that you need to be in.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of school systems are now hiring people who understand a different language. It's more like a corporate language.
Right. But it's a very different code, too, because, in technology world, our teachers oftentimes come to you or come to our techs with problems that they have where they're asking for this solution. And the techs know that they can't give this solution, but the techs have to think, wait a minute, this was the outcome. I could give you this solution. And there's a real nuance to being able to do that. And I'm seeing that more and more happening.
There is. So I think Tim and Tony and the whole team have been really good about, we get together, we have meetings, we talk about what are the big issues that are being faced. And then we try to bring that back to the teachers through the technology committee. Tim and I have been meeting with every principal team. We've started the second round, actually, just to try to understand what's happening in the schools. We're trying to come up with a device purchasing plan that would help everyone out. So if we have everyone kind of on the same platform, it's a little bit easier where your peers can actually help you and work with you, because sometimes what you've seen in another district, it just won't work here. Or vice versa. We might have something that won't work somewhere else. So it's just talking. It's communicating and building those relationships.
Yeah, and I know that's been really well received across the district. So we've talked about coming in, we've talked about vision. What do you see are the greatest challenges here in East Hartford when it comes to technology?
Funding. That was pretty easy. But I think that we can get around some of that through some grants.
Can
maybe.
you talk about that a little bit, though?
Funding?
The funding component.
So when we're faced with possible teacher layoffs, things that impact the students first and foremost, where do you put technology compared to that? And where do you put building? Facilities is in the same boat that I'm in. Up until recent years when we started with the breaches, no one thought about technology. They were left in a closet in the back. As long as things worked, that was fine. When they didn't, you told them to fix it, and they went away. It's a different world because everyone's dependent now. But we have to balance that with the fact that we're talking about students, teachers, books. You need resources. So I think maybe bringing in working with partnerships. We're working with Microsoft hard to develop a partnership where maybe we can get some things for the students, do some extra classes. We're working with some of our other vendors to maybe put on some programs for the students that don't cost us anything. So I think just investing time in those kind of partnerships, and it does take time to build the relationship, but it'll be well worth it on both ends. I'm open to being the advertising for someone if they've done something really good for the school system. I think looking at other ways to fund things. We're much more liable to get funding than some of the suburban school systems because we need it. We're an urban school system. So I think Tim and I have begun to look at how can we do that? And also Ken on the other side, we're also looking at municipal. How can we get some funding for the municipal side?
Yeah.
So it's just opening up new avenues,
Yeah.
what's available.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you ask anyone what's the challenge, funding is typically the first thing they jump to. But, sometimes I think as I think about all this, so funding is always, sometimes I think when I ask that question, I say, besides funding, and I sometimes think around technology, one of the challenges that we have is, certainly the security issue regarding technology. And you've spent a lot of time talking to me about that, whether it's student data security or just network security in general. Can you talk about that? You've done a lot of work in East Hartford to date on network security. Can you talk about what that meant?
Sure. I think it's
Without
easy.
giving away the trade secrets here.
I won't.
In case
No,
that
not at
Eastern
all.
Bloc
Sorry, I
country is
can't.
tuning
That's
into
right.
Channel 5.
That's right.
They just might be.
I think what's important is education, honestly. We can put 100 devices out there to try to stop things, and tomorrow someone will find a way around it. You talked about your kids on the devices. Those are the people I want to hire. I'd love to hire our high school students.
I don't know about that.
Trust me, they can get around everything we put. Well, when they're a little bit older.
Yeah.
But honestly, we have to work again with the vendors to see what's out there because we don't know all of it, and they do. And we go to multiple vendors. I don't just want one vendor. None of us want one vendor's perception. We want a bunch and then decide what's going to work for either side. Both the town and the board have collaborated on a lot of the security, and we're actually drawing out what we think we want and how we're going to do our network. So I love that. It's been rewarding to work with both sides to see what we've been able to develop, and then go to vendors and see if they have a personal interest in it, agenda, or they truly want to help us. And that's really what we base our facts on when we end up going to you or to the board or town council about what we need to purchase. But I think one thing that's left off a lot is just education. We have a couple of things that we can do that we're going to do with the staff just to help them, and it also helps them at home. If they've learned it for here, they're going to know at home and be a little bit safer. So it doesn't hurt for everyone to be a little bit more secure. It actually helps everyone else in the end.
Yeah. So staying on this challenge theme but coming off security, I think one of the other challenges I've seen over the years is building a systemic approach towards how things work together. So, for example, in the past, there was a time where we were really fortunate with a state grant to land laptop carts in a school. However, the infrastructure regarding Wi-Fi wasn't in place.
Right.
So you have all these great carts, but you don't have the Wi-Fi. And I feel like the real challenge in technology is seeing these things as they come, being nimble enough to respond, because when funding's there, you're going to grab it.
Right.
But at the same time, deploying devices, beta testing them, checking them out before you do it, and there's a lot.
There is a lot. There's a whole process that goes into that I think that we just weren't organized enough before, and I don't think people understood the process. So we've been able to do that, and we are doing testing. Joe, our assistant network admin, has been testing the new devices that we're purchasing on with the knowledge, I guess, that we are redoing our network. And that's as far as I'll go into that part. But it's been fun to watch the whole team jump in. The techs have come in and worked with him. So they're able to then go back to the schools and talk to the teachers. Another thing we're doing is the tech committee. We're actually piloting things. It's not my place or any of my team's place to tell teachers what they need to teach. It is the teacher's place to kind of let us know, but we have to balance that with what can we support. So the tech team's been fantastic about taking we brought vendors in, showed them devices. It's a variety of tech teachers, assistant principals, teachers. Actually, more people are starting to join up because we're going in a different direction. It's not, we were struggling a little bit with Power School earlier, and I think that became like the theme. So we've completely changed that to a team that's now going to pilot things, and we are having teachers come back and go, one of the teachers showed us this, they were piloting it, can I get it? So those
folks
early
on
adopters,
the tech team are piloting certain things. That's pretty cool.
Even
Good reason to be on the team.
It is. So now more people are joining, but that's what we want, like a cross section. So admins are finding good uses for some of it that doesn't work for teachers, but we can implement it with the administrators. And that's kind of helping us on the town side as well. So they're able to, now we're using the same devices on the town side. So it helps, plus we're now a bigger bucket of resource because the two sides, they're talking and we're trying to figure things out together. So it's kind of a really nice situation.
So you've mentioned a little bit, in shifting again here, about the town and the board side. Of course, I'm the superintendent, so I'm really interested in the board side, but I also am interested in the town side, and really, obviously, super excited about the mechanism that the mayor and the town council put in place for this to be a position that was financially split between the board and the town, and really met the needs of both. How have you found ways to? So these are two separate entities, but obviously our goal is to share components because that saves money, that's more effective, and that makes us better.
Right.
How have you found ways to explore that already?
So the first thing was to get both sides to trust each other because that just wasn't there before. So the network admins, Tim, the application support specialists, have met with some of the side from some of the staff from the town side, and we've tried to come up with ideas, different projects, phone projects, the server project, things like that. So that's helped develop a relationship where they're not afraid to call each other now if there's something that we've been working on. So that makes my job a lot easier. Instead of having to manage two separate sides completely, we're kind of trying to have everyone understand we're all in this together. We all work for East Hartford. So although the techs on the town side won't go to a school and vice versa, I'm not going to send a tech from the school over to the police department, they have an idea that they're all doing the same work. And it really is. Technology in the end is the same work in the different levels that we have.
Yeah.
So it's worked pretty nicely on both sides.
Yeah.
And the town council's been super supportive. Board of Ed's been super supportive. You've been supportive. The mayor, all the directors, and the cabinet. It's just been a fantastic experience. And I just look forward to moving forward and seeing what we can do.
Yeah. Well, I think this is indicative of a thing we've realized in East Hartford over the past few years is that the challenges are complex and hard, and the only way to solve them is work together. We've had success doing that. And I feel, I don't feel we've become a model across the state for these type of innovative practices in a way that save taxpayers money and in a way that produce really high quality results. And that's what this is an example of. So, our viewers have kids at home, and technology at home is a big asset and also a big risk, liability, and frankly, as a parent, thing we're concerned about. So, talking to our parents about their kids and their technology, can you give us 3 or 4 pointers of things parents should be thinking about or talking about or exploring when it comes to technology at home?
Sure. You should be engaged with the technology your kids are using. Don't let them I'm just doing this, don't worry about it, because that means every page underneath is minimized and you don't know what's really happening. Yeah. They're quick. They're so fast. But what we are going to do, we're going to launch a new website June 30th, I believe, maybe a little bit earlier. So the tech side is going to have tips for parents that they can go to in certain programs that will actually help them out. I'm by no means an expert. I can't give you everything to keep your kids safe, but I do know, don't let them just say, don't worry about it, or just take the device and go in a corner. Be engaged. Yeah. There are some parental controls on routers if you have like Comcast or Xfinity or something, Verizon, whatever you have. And you can talk to them about what other controls you need. But it's kind of hard to do it through controls. Kids are going to find ways around it. Right. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. No. So if you talk to your kids and you work with them and you're engaged with them, that's really the best practice. Yeah. It honestly is, because they're going to get around. They get around our filter now, the state filter. I mean, they just find ways around it. It's what they spend their time doing. So stay engaged and involved with them. Yeah, no, I think it's a great tip. And, I think for me as a parent, well, obviously being aware of screen time, there's a lot of studies out there that talk about the brain structure and the neurological growth or lack of growth of kids who are only interacting with the screen. And I think for me as a parent, that's something I take really seriously and need to take more seriously. But for our parents at home, getting our, especially as, in warm weather areas and warm weather times of the year, getting our kids out from front of the screen, getting them outside playing with their friends. Absolutely. Putting a screen, and it seems funny to be talking about this with a tech director, but important things. But then I also have really been thinking a lot about some of the approach we've taken on the education side of digital citizenship. Our kids are going to be consumers and users of technology, and taking it away from them isn't teaching them how to use it. Right. Social media is a reality of our world. If our kids can't learn that a social media world is not the real world, and there is an appropriate way and an inappropriate way to respond, to share, to communicate, we're setting kids up for failure.
in a very serious environment.
That's so important to really stress with parents to kids. You look at the bullying that's going out.
Oh.
I may be into technology, but I think, as you know, I'm pretty active outside of it.
Yeah, you are.
You can't just sit and watch a screen all day, and kids shouldn't. They should be out. But they read books on it. I still go to the library. I'll still get a book. I'll go to Barnes & Noble, not Borders. And I'll grab a book to read. You know, I still like that. But kids...
Our librarian wants to hear you'd go to the Raymond Library. That's what she wants to hear.
Actually, we're working really closely with her on a program
Yeah.
at the high school, so talk about shared
Yeah.
services, and that's a little off. But, yeah, I love libraries. I think they're fantastic. But I read my Kindle, too. I think they have to blend it. They have to
Yeah.
learn how to do both. We were talking earlier, they're not going to an encyclopedia anymore. They're going to Google it, but they need to know what is the right information. It's not always the first thing that pops up. That's a sponsored ad. So if we teach that in the schools, they'll be better prepared. We can't make every decision for them, but we can show them what the right ones are.
No, it's 100% right. It's funny as you're saying encyclopedias. I remember as a kid, my parents, buying that encyclopedia as a kid, and that being kind of our family, really important part of our family collection.
Absolutely. I loved mine. I think I still have it.
Yeah, it's a good placeholder. You
That's
know?
right.
So here comes, this has been awesome to listen to, kind of coming to our tail end and landing the plane here on this interview here, Roberta. So I always ask like a kind of a feature question, to kind of surprise you, and I think I want to play the favorite game. So I'm gonna throw out some things, and you tell me what your favorite of X is. Does that sound good? Can
Sure.
we work with that?
Yep.
All right. Favorite sport?
Tennis.
Tennis. How long have you been playing tennis?
20 years.
20 years of tennis. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Favorite animal? Favorite
Dog.
pet? Favorite pet?
I have too many. That's not fair.
All right.
Can I-
Favorite animal you could do, though?
No,
Can't do
that's
that
not
either.
fair. Dogs, horses,
Dogs and horses?
koi fish.
And koi fish.
Yes.
So that's a pretty wide spectrum.
Yeah.
Favorite home-cooked meal?
Oh boy. Steak
Steak.
on the grill.
Steak on a grill.
No cheating. Middle of the winter, you got to do it on the grill. Doesn't matter.
I'm all
Yeah.
in on that. Favorite fast food?
Don't eat it. That's bad. Used to be McDonald's.
It used to be McDonald's. Favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Favorite piece of technology?
Kindle. It's not a Kindle, so I shouldn't say that. It's my iPad.
Your iPad.
Yeah.
Favorite public school superintendent?
That would be you by far.
I'm kidding.
Favorite mayor? That would be Mayor Leclerc.
Mayor Leclerc.
By far.
Absolutely. Right answer. So listen, it's been awesome having you on the show. Really appreciate your work in the district. I feel like we're just getting started, and I'm really looking forward to where that's going. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. So that's it from the classroom. We really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Certainly we're headed in the right direction with our technology services, and couldn't be more excited about what's to come. So that's all for now. See you next time.